were very, on some parts in the Carpathian, the Jews were very poor. They used to come begging, like to the part where I lived and so on. They were very poor. And even in our village was a family with children, but my parents used to send every Friday like dinners to them, chickens and everything. And then the Hungarians weren't very good to the Jews either. They took away our licenses from the businesses. In 1941 we didn't have businesses already. And then everyone had to get a citizenship. Of course the Jews were born there and they had citizenships. But anyhow, at midnight or 1 o'clock, they knocked on the windows that everybody should get up and get ready. And they took us, most of them, they took to the Polish border from the villages. And in Poland, they dig graves for themselves and they shot them there. But luckily, when they took us already, my family, Poland didn't want to take in any more Jews anymore. So they returned us home. And then in 1944, in April, it was one day after Passover, they were on the drums, they were knocking like announcing that all the Jews should pack what just little things what they could take with them, and they should wait outside. They go on a transport in someplace. And my 86-year-old grandmother, she says, I am not going. I was born here, and it's my home, and I'm not leaving. They were ready to shoot her. So my father cried, Mom, come, whatever is going to be with us, it's going to be with you too. So finally she came, and they took us to a ghetto in Uzhhorod. And the ghetto, it was a brick factory. It was like
In
a
where
garage
was it?
in Uzhhorod.
It's in Czechoslovakia. and so-
Hungary.
Hungary.
Yeah, it was Hungarian that time. Before
Hungary.
that it was
Okay.
Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
And the ghetto, it had cement floors. And the people, even old people and children and everybody had to sleep on those floors there. There were nothing to take a shower or anything. It was just like a barn, like a big garage. And they were ready, they took some Jewish older men or so. They had to cut their beards and everything. And one old lady who was across like from us, her husband comes back and they cut him too and took off his beard. And she said to him, you came to the wrong place. And he started crying. He said, even my own wife didn't recognize me.
How old were you at that time?
I was 18.
18.
And he cried, and then we had 2 children, my sister's children, she lived about 3 kilometers from us, but it was the Slovak border. And somebody brought them to us that they should be saved, because in Slovak Republic was even worse. Even a priest there was sending money to Hitler. He should take the Jews, the faster the better. And in the ghettos we stayed 3 weeks, and we had those 2 little girls what they brought, and my grandma was with us. And after 3 weeks they took us to cattle trains and transported us to Auschwitz. And in Auschwitz, when we arrived, and these German soldiers with big black dogs were yelling, heraus, heraus, out, out. So we went out from those cattle trains, and they put on one side and on the other. I didn't know where I was going. And we started marching and I looked around, I didn't see my mother, I didn't see anybody. I was just going, and on the site, there was propaganda. They had about 4 or 5 older people dressed up nicely and sitting there. And then they had a young girl with about 6, 8 children, beautifully dressed, walking by, that we should think that we are going to some wonderful place. But the smell from the fires was terrible. It was early in the morning, about 5, 6 o'clock in April in the morning. And that fire and the just was awful. And all of a sudden, we walked maybe 15 minutes and we came to a building. We went in that building and they shaved our heads. And we had to take a shower and put in those uniforms, great things. And then we started marching and they put us in barracks. I was in A1. And those barracks, they were board-like, and small ones maybe like their place, and about 10 or 12 people used to lay on it when we went to sleep. And every morning, Selapel, they were counting us. I mean, if someone doesn't escape, and how could you escape? It was wire and guards all over. And people were working something, some didn't, because they made transports to go to Germany. I used to be a Nachtwache. It's at night that nobody couldn't go even to the bathroom. Just there was a pail, and when it was filled up, the last one had to take it someplace. So, but I was in Auschwitz luckily only 5 weeks. And then I went with a transport to Germany, to Hamburg, Germany. And in Germany, they put us in better places already. We had a better place to lay down. And they
Excuse
had
me one second,
bathrooms.
Mom. You didn't mention what happened to your family after Auschwitz.
In Auschwitz, well, everybody knows what happened. They put them on trucks and took them to the gas chambers.
Why did they let you leave? Why did they put you on the bus?
They didn't put her, they had the 2 little girls, because they were with the little girls,
Yeah.
they gassed them, and her old grandmother, and she got into a separate line. Go ahead.
Yeah,
She was adult enough to.
Your whole family?
Yes.
my whole family perished. I was the only survivor. And in Hamburg, with the boat, we used to go to a factory to work. But we were just rebuilding that factory, because that factory was probably before bombed or something. So we worked like construction workers there. But at least they gave us lunch and we had some food, because in the camps the food was terrible. We had nothing to eat once a day. And we were in Hamburg only about 3 weeks or so. With a boat they took us to the factory. And then the factory got bombed. They took us to the woods. Everybody went from the factory further down, and a bomb fell not too far from us. And 5 of our girls got killed by the bomb. Under a tree they were, and the tree fell on them. And hard for me to visualize it now.
Want to sit down?
And then we couldn't work there anymore, so they took us with trucks to subdivision to build houses for the Germans, because the Germans' homes were bombed out too in the cities. So we worked in constructions. There were always somebody who showed us what to do, and we worked very hard. And there the food was nothing. Once a day they gave us some soup there, and a little piece of bread that had to last us 24 hours. And we were working very hard. And winter, when the snow fell, they took us to the city to shovel snow because Hamburg wasn't too far from Eidelstadt where we were. We were in Eidelstadt, in Wiedel, in little subdivisions, we were building houses. And we were there on March the 1st, we were going with a train to a further subdivision to build, and it was windy, and a brick fell on our train. And in the first two, those people, most of them died, and I was supposed to go, we were always five of us were walking together, and we were supposed to go to the second train, and somehow like something told me, get out from here, go in the last one. And I pulled the girls, I said, let's go in the last one. They said, they're gonna kill us. I said, no, just come. And we jumped in the last one, and on the first two, the brick wall failed. But 60% of them died there. They were just pulling out the bodies there, and they took us with trucks to our camp, to Eidelstadt. And even one of my close friends who didn't want to change the things, even she died there. And then, about the end of March, or the middle of March, they took us to Bergen-Belsen. And Bergen-Belsen was the worst you could imagine. But 3 days we were going with the cattle trains. And the German soldiers always told us, don't be happy if the war ends or if anything happens, because you won't survive. We have orders to shoot you all if we lose the war or anything. And we heard shooting, and we said, oh, they're taking us to kill us all, and we were hugging each other and saying goodbye to each other in those trains. And it was just awful. We were about 3 days in those trains. The trains couldn't move because the English were so close already, and it was almost the end of the war. It was only a couple months before the war ended. And then one day was a little more quiet, and they got us out from the train, and we started walking. When we were walking, we saw shoes and jackets and things, and I said, we said, they're taking to shoot us someplace. See, the people dropped everything, and they're going to kill us there. And we come into Bergen-Belsen, and big piles of dead bodies on both sides, big piles of them. And we just walked slowly, and they took us to barracks. And in the barracks, lots of people were sick and so on, dying, typhoid fever they had. And I had my father's cousin or something was working in a kitchen, or a cousin's daughter, and she took me that I should give food. What food was it? Some crummy soup I should serve. But there were very few who could eat yet. And I come to one. Some of them didn't even pick up their heads to take their food or anything. And I come to one of those things there, and a young girl just couldn't put down, everybody was just laying around her, didn't even pick up their heads. And she was trying to swallow, and it impressed me so much that nobody even trying, and she's trying so hard to swallow that soup. I said, where from are you? She said, from Holland. And I didn't know what I didn't know. Even I survived. Lice all over, and terrible conditions in Bergen-Belsen, just bodies all over laying. And when I came to the United States and I saw pictures from Anna Frank, I realized it was her. And everybody just was laying around her, nobody even picked up their heads. And we got liberated April 15, 1945. The English liberated us. But everybody had typhoid fever there. I was lucky that I got a typhoid fever after I was liberated. Because otherwise I could have never survived. And the English took me to the hospital. And I didn't know how long I was there because the fevers were so high that I was like comatose. I didn't know what was going on with me. And all of a sudden, like in May, I hear shootings. And the girls, the nurses in the hospital, oh, we are all free, we are free. And I looked at the visitor, they said, Hitler is dead, the war is over, and you are free to do what you want to. So I was free, and I was in the hospital. And after the typhoid, I ate so much, they used to say, you are so little, where do you put all that stuff? I couldn't stop eating. And when I came home to Czechoslovakia, and I got better, and I just wanted to go home, I just didn't believe it that I wouldn't find a sister or anybody. And in my house, a widow with a bunch of children, and I couldn't go in the house. If I just looked on the house, I was crying and walked away. But in Prague, I met my husband because he was looking for his sisters on the train stations too. And a girl who was his neighbor or something called him up on the train. And we met there, and he said that he's going to come and see me to my village. And I didn't believe him. And a couple of weeks later, I see him coming on a bike, about 30 kilometers, he drove there. And then we got married a few months later, December 6th, the same year we got married.
How old were you?
I was 19. We got married, he was 23. But his sister in Bergen-Belsen, she got very sick, she got tuberculosis. And we had to take them through the border to Czechoslovakia, and I had to give them papers. I was from the Slovak, so I didn't need all that. I had to take them to the border. She was in a sanatorium for about 20 years, right?
In Switzerland.
Yeah, she was in a sanatorium about 20 years. And we brought her out. If penicillin wouldn't come out, she would have died. But penicillin had up. That she was cured enough that she could come to the United States. So we brought her out, and she married a religious guy in New York. And then they went to Israel. And she couldn't have any children. Of course, she laid in bed so many years. She adopted a daughter. And she died quite a few years ago. She was always sick, always weak. And my husband always wanted to go to Israel to see her, so we went 1 year. And I am glad. We went to Israel and we saw her. And my husband took care of his sisters. And we had to start a life in the United States.
Who
My
did you
husband
come
was
to?
a very...
When you came to the United States, who did you go to?
I had an uncle and I had a brother. I went to my uncle's house, but my husband came 6 months before me because I was pregnant, and the boats were very little and they didn't want to take a chance that I should go on the boat. So So, and he knew a few words English, and he heard my aunt talking English, that they came here with a baby. Well, so he said to me, I don't want to stay even one night here. He rented a room someplace. And it was very hard to get even a place in the United States, in the 40s, you know that. In 46 it was hard. But my aunt was shopping in some store, and the daughter had a fish market. And he started talking to her, and her mother died, and the father couldn't pay the rent. He was an old tailor, so he rented us his place in a 4-family in Monterey. So we lived there.
How did you get to Detroit?
Pardon?
How did you get to Detroit?
Well, I had papers. I had uncles here.
Okay.
I had uncles. But
She
was-
came by boat.
Yeah, but was my uncle sent us the affidavit.
The uncle was his grandfather.
No, not his grandfather.
Not his grandfather?
No, Uncle Adolf from Pittsburgh.
Oh, his brother who he didn't like.
Okay.
Brian, when were
It
you
was your Uncle
born?
Adolf?
Uncle Adolf. Well, Uncle Adolf was a president in a big synagogue in Pittsburgh, and he used to sell pictures from the synagogue and write, because his mother, my grandma, lived with us, and she used to show, look, somebody came from the United States, and she went with a picture from the synagogue. My son is the president, and the woman said, that's funny, when I left, that was Roosevelt.
What did your husband do for a living?
He wants to know what Dad did for a living.
My husband, we had a supermarket, we had a slaughterhouse. He was very ambitious, he done anything that we should survive. Right?
Yeah, he always worked.
Always was.
In Detroit?
I think he worked in a sausage factory originally in Hampton.
When he came, he worked in a sausage factory for high grades.
I agree. I agree on Pam.
Brian, you were born here?
My brother was born in Germany and I was born in America.
Okay.
Rivka, when you were raising your kids here, did you talk about this at all? Or did you just
I
recently?
couldn't talk, I
you-
couldn't talk.
That's
It
right.
was so hard for me, for years I couldn't talk about it.
Right.
Terrible things happened to me. I still feel myself, am I alive? Is that true? Did I survive that?
It's like a miracle. And you
You
smile.
can't imagine a day what we went through in one day.
I can imagine.
But every time I see you, you're smiling. To me, I
I
call
am,
you
I'm happy
smiles.
that I'm alive.
I know. You're remarkable.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, anything else?
You are very
Rivka, I'd
strong
like to
woman.
know what your philosophy of life is.
Do your best, accept whatever comes your way. What could we do? We can escape from it. And just pick yourself up and go on.
Well said.
May I ask how old you are?
Well, you can figure it out. She has a birthday a week from Friday.
And it was very hard for me to lose my husband because we were very close.
How long ago was that?
But I have good children. When she came to the funeral, she took me right away here. I shouldn't be alone there. Because I have a condominium in Palm Springs.
He died 6 years ago.
And she, yeah, September 17. So, and then she came once with her girlfriend, and her girlfriend said, you gotta learn bridge.
We said, we have to reinvent
How
yourself.
about Masha?
We taught her bridge.
Martian.
So we taught her bridge.
So I went and took lessons for bridge. And I found wonderful people, even Sonia, she's wonderful.
She made a lot of bridge friends, young gal. Yeah, she's made wonderful friends through bridge.
And in Palm Springs, don't I have wonderful friends there?
Yes, yeah.
And-
Rivka, I wanted to ask you, when you see inhumanity today,
Yes.
like in Syria, with the government gassing their own people, what does a survivor think about that?
It's terrible. But we think about it, we feel bad for the humanity, for the human beings, for the children. They are dying for nothing there. But there were always wars and stuff, and Russia was always interfering. And even when we survived, the Russian soldiers came up on the trains and took some survivors down. They said they are our people and took them to Siberia. Some of them didn't even survive.
Did you record for the Holocaust Memorial?
Sure.
Wow.
Who taught you how to cook?
Eric,
Bake.
my cousin's mother, she lived with me. When she came, she had no place to go, so we took her in, me and my husband, and she taught me how to cook.
Babka cake is the best I've ever had in my life. I really want to learn how to make that.
She makes her both.
Oh my God.
So you were born in Czechoslovakia?
Sure.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 4 sisters and 1 brother.
And the one brother survived.
He was in the
He
camp.
was in the United States.
Oh, he was.
Oh, he's in the United States.
16 years older than her.
Okay.
He was in the United States. Well, I was the baby. They were all older. And then the next one was out from school already when I was born.
Were there people who kind of knew what was coming and left the country? Did friends of yours try to leave the country?
They didn't believe it. They were so religious, so fanatic that God wouldn't allow it and God will save us. My husband was a yeshiva bucher in the big yeshivas. And when he came back, his father wouldn't talk to him because he cut his payers.
Oh.
And his grandfather was only in the 70s. His father was in the 40s.
When he went to the camps and died.
And when he came back, he went to shul and all that, but he just didn't believe in anything anymore. He said, if my father, who was so religious, and my grandfather, how could I believe in anything?
But you believe in God?
I do. He believed in God too later.
Yeah.
He found religion again eventually.
But he wasn't religious, because before that he was very religious, and he wasn't anymore.
As a daughter, okay, having known this, when did you know the history? If she was so closed,
Well,
how did that all impact you?
well, I always knew. One of the things was whenever she would see old people or older people, she would try to give us grandparents because we never had grandparents.
Uh-huh.